You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Yeah, we're trying to cover some of the most important races on the ballot in August for you. And right now, we're joined by Mike Taylor, one of 7 candidates if you include a recent write-in. Lots of law enforcement experience in some other agencies. So explain to folks, why are you running for sheriff in Clay County?
My family and I moved to Clay County in around 2002, I'm sorry. We fell in love with Clay County. I was a special agent supervisor working for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and I was given 13 counties to supervise and given direction to choose any county within those 13 to live. And when we came to Clay County, we found our home.
What did you love about it? What grabbed you?
I grew up in Lakeland, and as soon as we drove into Clay County, I felt the nostalgic feel that, Lakeland had kind of a city structure, but just outside of the city, there was a rural area and with horses and citrus groves, and it felt like home. So my wife and I planted there. We raised our children. They went to Thunderbolt Elementary School, Green Cove Springs Junior High School, and Fleming Island High School. I served on the CDD board in Fleming Island Plantation and was the first resident to be the CDD chairman. We became deeply immersed in Clay County and just loved it and served.
Yeah. You said that you had run for sheriff previously, 2008, yes, I think. So why are you running now, and what are the big concerns that you have? Say, hey, I've got to get involved here. I want to step in and run again.
Well, when I lost the race in 2008, the state attorney in the 7th Circuit called me and asked me if I would come to work for him and work special prosecution investigations. I'm an expert in racketeering, money laundering, historical drug conspiracies, and white-collar crime. And I didn't have anything else on my agenda at the time, so I said, sure, I will. He required me to move to St. Johns County and live within the circuit. When I ran, I had concerns with the growing drugs and the growing gang problem in Clay County. I see the same issues today that I saw then. But very honestly, it was the sheriff's impropriety that compelled me in my heart to step out and run. The citizens of the county deserve to know that the sheriff has integrity, and the integrity has to be matched with experience. When a sheriff or a police chief, a law enforcement executive leader, gives an order to a subordinate officer to effect an arrest, the last thing that should go through that officer's mind is, have I been given a lawful command?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the issues, civil unrest across America in the last couple of months, really. How would you handle that? If that's happening in Clay and you're the sheriff, what's the proper response?
Well, first, we would communicate. I would communicate with the organizers. We're living in a day and age where the public doesn't trust law enforcement because of police misconduct. I understand that. In fact, thank goodness it's only a very small margin of law enforcement officers who have committed the misconduct, but I agree, and we don't accept that. 99.8% of law enforcement officers across the nation do not accept and do not agree with the police misconduct that we've seen. So if they come and protest peacefully, I would support them. I would stand shoulder to shoulder with them. I would protest with them because they're right. They have a legitimate concern that we need to address, but we address it through communication and understanding and professionalism. That said, I will never tolerate civil unrest. I will never tolerate when the line is crossed and persons or property are placed in jeopardy. I was in Miami during the Elian Gonzalez riots. I was a SWAT team member, an operator on the SWAT team, and we were called in to assist the city of Miami with the unrest that occurred there. When protesters cross the line, protesters go to jail. It's that simple.
Yeah. But not a simple issue, as you're alluding to, because saying, hey, there's a reason that people are demonstrating and have a cause to be heard. So what would you say to the folks who say, hey, we want to, whether they say defund police or they say we need police reform, how do you feel about that? Is there a place to go in terms of changing the way things are done in law enforcement?
There's a place to go for changing the way we do business. That's true. But we can't defund law enforcement. we can barely get by with what we do now with what we're given to work with. Quite frankly, I joke, we're given the best equipment, best training government low bid can buy. And there's a lot of truth to that. We will, should I become the sheriff, we will change our training. I am a proponent of police reform, even when there's justified use of force and justified use of lethal force. We should still review those cases, review those facts and circumstances to determine, is there a better way we could have responded? Could we have done it differently and actually saved the life and still enforced the law? Just because it's right, legal, and justified doesn't mean that it can't be done better. And so that's where I would start the dialogue with folks that are concerned. But I'd carry it on to when police have committed misconduct, then there is no excuse. I'm probably the only candidate running in the race who's actually put handcuffs on police officers, who's worked public integrity investigations against public officials and police officers and taken them to jail. I'm not happy to do that, but the badge we wear is a symbol of honor and integrity and trust. And when we lose that as police officers, we lose our ability to be effective in guaranteeing that the community remains safe.
Yeah. Well, again, complex issues, but good to hear your views. And I know you're, like I mentioned, there's 6 candidates plus a write-in candidate, and everything coming up to August 18th when we've got a primary election. Mike Taylor, thanks so much for the time today.
Thank you for having me.